Well, hi, friends. Hey, welcome to the Artist Next Level podcast. My name is Drew Harris. I'm sitting in here with my good friend Sergio Gomez and Dr. Yanina Gomez, the three of us here in the hot seat. So stay tuned. We have a great show coming up.
Resources, inspiring interviews, business practices, and practical advice to take your art career to the next level. And get ready to take control of your career.
Well, hello, everyone.
Hello, Drew.
Hello.
Yes, here are my two favorite people in the world. Sergio Gomez, which I met first, and his lovely partner, wife, and business partner, Dr. Yanina Gomez.
Thank you
Welcome
so much for having
to the
us.
Artist Next Level podcast. Oh, you're so welcome.
It's nice to be on the guest seat and not have to think about questions.
That's true. Well, I'm gonna hit you with some questions today, and we're gonna talk about you guys because I think it's really important that we're often seen as as couples working in the art world. We're often seen as two separate entities, but I know for a fact you guys work very closely together.
We do.
And I think people are interested in hearing, the successes, the failures, the indecision, the building of a brand, and how you work together as a family and as business people, and put your, sort of emotional hats aside some days where you have to, speak specifically about business.
Right.
And then there's the other side that, you can bring that emotional hat back in and say, well, we have, some things that we need to talk that are between us and so forth. So I think it's a really good opportunity for us to get to know you. So many people, as I say, know you individually. You're experts in your chosen capacities. Sergio Gomez, being a painter, being the marketing guy, the developer of the Artist Next Level program. You are a coach. I could go on. You wear many hats. Dr. Yanina, you are a specialist. You are a doctor in psychology, I believe.
Correct.
And
yes.
You are a partner here and developer in the Artist Next Level program.
That's right.
And I think you bring such a valuable, intrinsic value to this organization. And a lot of it starts with how you get us engaged. So I'm going to start with you.
Thank you.
Good idea.
It is so good to see both of you, to hear both of you. It's a fantastic, and it's a great opportunity. I want to thank you.
Thank you.
4 years ago, I don't think any of us would have seen us sitting here having a discussion, as a podcast.
Right.
So It's a real honor. So let's get to the questions, shall we? And I really haven't thought of anything that is specific. So we're going to have a really good sort of family chat here, shall we?
Sounds
Perfect.
good.
Let's do it.
Sounds like a plan.
So now, Dr. Yanina, you have written 2 books now.
Yes.
So, and you have your own career development outside the Artist Next Level program. And tell me a bit more about what you do that is outside this program at the moment.
Yeah. So what I do is I provide workshops. I facilitate workshops, and my workshops are based on parenting because other than wellness, emotional wellness and mindset, I love talking to parents, especially parents of preteens and teens, because we all know how challenging the preteen and teen years are. So I provide parenting support for parents. I offer one-on-one sessions for parents as well as for artists. But I also facilitate workshops in schools, churches, parenting groups, organizations. And I love sharing parenting strategies with parents. From little ones to, like I said, preteens and teens. So that's one of the things that I do. And also, when it comes to wellness, I also provide wellness support and workshops for creatives. So our related organizations will hire me to do a workshop on wellness and so forth. So those are the two main things that I love doing. I also like to write, as you know. So
Yes, of course.
in the Art NXT Level program, I provide a weekly advice and through posts that I provide and inner reflection exercises and inner reflection questions that I provide. So yeah, all about trying to heal ourselves from the inside out. So those are the two main areas that I do. And
Wonderful.
of course, some of the business part of the Art NXT Level program.
Right. Yeah, we can't forget that.
No.
I know personally that you are, an integral part of that business decision making. I think that's that divide that I want to find that sort of divide in there. You've got your, the clinical career, as you stated. You've got your writing, and you're now working with, you're working with adults primarily. Now in our group, in the Art NXT Level program, you're working with, I would say, mostly adults.
Right.
And they have, and they are going through, I imagine, the same kind of, you would apply similar kind of traits to, working with these individuals as they build their careers as artists.
Which is interesting that you say that, because for about at the beginning of my art career, at the beginning of my career.
Wow, you have an art career.
Talking about art here. At the beginning of my career, I worked with children. For many years, I worked with children from the ages 4 to 18 and their parents. So that's how I started my career, working with the children and parents. And then I added working with adults later on. Working with adults have been very interesting. And there's a significant difference because there's significant issues between, younger children versus adults. But it has been a journey, especially with creatives, because the truth is that being a creative is something beautiful. I find it to be very beautiful, being able to have a thought in your mind, an idea, a belief, a passion, and being able to convert it into something that is tangible, but something that can be seen. So transferring those ideas, those values into something that someone else can see is something beautiful. But at the same time, as a creative, you see that creation is part of you. And it's something very, very personal. And because it's so personal, there are times in which it's so difficult and it can be so challenging and even intimidating to share that creation with the world. And I can only imagine, and I say this based on experience working with artists, how difficult and challenging and intimidating it is to put that creation out there for the world to judge, and for the world to enjoy, and for the world to possibly connect with. So there's a lot of fears that are part of that process that are completely legitimate. And that's something that I always tell artists. There's nothing wrong about feeling intimidated and concerned about sharing the art. But if we are not careful enough, we're going to let that inner critic to be so loud to the point that it might intervene from showing the work and selling the work, and being your own, and being able to transport it from or transfer it from studio into the world, right? So, and that's where I come in to help artists face those fears, face those insecurities, navigate through them, and to the point that they can overcome those fears so that they can become better at marketing and sales, because it's quite intimidating to do. Marketing your artwork is not simple. It's something so personal and so vulnerable, right? And no wonder many artists don't like doing it, right? So that's when I come in, try to help them walk through that journey, through that process with confidence. Because
Yeah. Do you see
the
that?
confidence is there. It just needs to be awakened.
Yes. Well, I can see, as you speak, I can see just how valuable you would be in that parent, teenager, children market or segment, in dealing with
Thank
the same.
you.
Because I think artists, if we can be really honest, I think some of us are not, when we enter our careers as young or emerging artists or even mid-career artists, we can have a sense of almost immaturity to us, where we're not looking at the big picture. We're not looking at the adult things that we need to do, which is
Right.
this is where it bridges over to Sergio. I think you bring the sort of tactical, or Sergio brings that tactical, you've got to do this to get to there kind of thing. But in order to do that,
Yes.
you have to kind of, as artists, I know how many of us have been, blamed for being, including myself, a bit of a crybaby at times, and you go, well, you're an adult, and you've taken on a career that is important, and it's just like any other career. So stop whining about it, and stop pretending you're playing, the poor me artist thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty of what you do and I know for a fact in this group that your involvement is really, I would say, is the key first step in developing the careers, and even redeveloping, even as senior artists. There's the emotional values that you have to get intact. You have to nail those down. You have to understand them in order to go and jump into the marketing and the doing of making art.
Yeah,
right?
and I think what something that has been influencing that type of ideology is the fact that from many years ago, there's this starving artist mentality,
Right?
and
of course.
and you see these kids. Especially, I even remember where Sergio was doing his master's degree, because we went to the same university to complete our master's degree. That's where I met him, and I will visit the studio. And there were tons of students in there, and I could hear them saying, being an artist, I guess we're going to be starving artists for who knows how long, until the gallery discover us, and then once we're discovered, we're going to be famous artists like other famous artists. So the whole ideology of being a starving artist has been implemented in the brain of these individuals from the time that they're students for whatever reason, and then those who have not a formal academic experience or training, rather, then they will probably hear that too, so they adopt that type of mentality. And so this starving artist mentality has been going on for, I would say, from decades.
So let me ask you this: during that time when you met Sergio and met all of these artists, was Sergio kind of a unique animal in a way? Was he the one that was, because if he's anything like he is today, back then, he probably didn't have that, oh, poor me, I'm going to be a starving artist concept. He'd ridden that, well beyond most artists, I'm sure, even at that age.
Yes.
Was it correct? Yes.
Otherwise, I would have not married him.
Yeah. So you saw your interest in him.
She
saw raw potential.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're talking about little things like organization and things like that,
of course, we gotta have a few faults.
But when it comes to that, I know, and I noticed that. Good thing that you're bringing that up, because all these kids will be talking about, the whole idea of being discovered or whatever it is, and this is going to be tough. We're going to be starving, and who knows this and that. But Sergio was a little different. He was more into. He will always say, no, I don't think, he will never believe in that starving artist. He's like, well, if I would have believed that I'm going to be starving, then why I'm doing what I'm doing, right?
Exactly.
So he always had that in that ideology in which, I'm going to make the best of this, and inside of him. Back then he didn't know the how and all the logistics but he had the ideology, the idea
The
that
faith. He had the faith in doing this.
Mhm. Right, that starvingness was not an option.
Yeah. Yeah.
So definitely I saw that. But that's what
Well,
many of these artists are fighting, and it's so ingrained in their brains that result of what you were saying, the poor me, I don't know if I'm going to succeed, and I'm not selling my art. And then what happens is that because they're not uh, uh, developing professionally, like when it comes to these skills of sales and marketing, because it's so intimidating, then it starts reflecting on them. So now the strategies that they're using are not a failure. They are a failure. Their art is a failure. So why bother in this? Why continue? So that's another opportunity for me to remind artists, no, there's a difference between the strategies you're using, the system you have in place, your art, and you. So everything has to stay separated. Everything has to be contained separately. That together everything works harmoniously, yes. But your strategy doesn't define you. Your art doesn't define you. You define your strategy. You define your art. It comes all the other way around.
Yeah, so but it's a really this is one of those challenges that I think every artist in art school, particularly because the art schools are not at all engaged and continue to this day not to be, really all that engaged in the marketing side.
Right, it's not business oriented.
There's a sort of a purity of mind when you're doing your craft. You are going to be the craftsman or the purist.
Right.
But and marketing is not being pure to your art in the philosophy of art colleges. That may be changing now, I think, because they see the importance. Yeah, of course. But so this is really great because I see this is the bridge that I think why your relationship works as well as it does as a marriage, but also as business partners.
Right.
Because there's that Sergio, I'm certain, and we'll get to you in a second, Sergio, but I think what he also saw in you, Dr. Yanina, was the fact that you could keep him thinking outside that box, or the keeping him away from the fear of being the oh poor me.
Exactly.
I'm just an artist and I will never succeed. That just isn't in his vocabulary. But I think you also reinforce it as a partner, as his wife, as his business partner, and I think that's the beauty of this relationship. I know you now fairly well, but it will take a lifetime to know everybody, even though we're close. And this is why I wanted to talk about this. So now I have my questions to the young man next to you. That's not me. That's him.
Thanks for the young man attributed.
Yes.
Where's the young man?
I was looking like, who's the other guest I missed?
That's right. Well, for years, I mean, even including myself, I would wallow in that sort of self-pity and say, oh, poor me, the dealers aren't coming to my atelier right now. And you think, well, absolutely. And I knew this a number of years ago. I kept reminding myself, listen, it's a changed art field. You aren't going to be discovered by just hanging around in your, atelier, covered in paint and canvases like Francis Bacon. You've got to be out there doing the handshaking.
We got to bring the bacon
and stuff, right? You got to make the bacon, right? So I don't know where I was going to go with that, but at any rate, what's amazing was, and I was going to say, that's where I found myself. Even, I'm a fairly senior artist, and 4 years ago, I was in that position where I was walking around my own studio saying, I just don't know what else to do. And I fell into sort of this pit of despair, nothing serious, but enough to hold me back from doing what I do and what I do best, primarily because I was allowing the system. I was falling back into a very comfortable frame of mind to say, oh, poor me, look at me. I can't make it. And that's when I met Sergio online. And when I heard his program, including you, Dr. Yanina, bringing in this wellness side, and then the business side and the marketing and the positivity, I knew it right now, or right then, that this was going to be a great program for me. Hasten do I say, I had no idea I'd be here today doing just this.
Yeah.
But I am forever grateful. And I probably wouldn't be doing half the things I'm doing now had I not had a frame of mind change, And I am also blessed with a relationship with an artist, my wife, that is also brings that beautiful balance that says, okay, well, let's get real. You're good at what you do, but you're not so good on this. So let's talk about it. And let's bring it out in the air. Let's not have you just wallow in it.
Right.
So, which takes me to Sergio. There's lots to talk about with both of you, but this guy, I mean, his internal sense of optimism is very clear.
It is.
So I think that came probably prior to even meeting you, but I think it's also been. I wanted to talk about this other side, which is, just in the faith in ourselves, faith in family, faith in perhaps in religion, or having a faith that guides you. Right? You are extremely faithful to a number of things, but you have this innate faith inside you. And I think that's what people see immediately. When they talk about Sergio Gomez, you're not just the marketing guy.
Yeah.
You have a sense of commitment and faith and understanding that, being positive will take you to positive results.
Right. Yeah.
So when you met Dr. Yanina, and I assume you weren't a doctor at that point, but however, did you have that moment where you're thinking, what have I done? I've married into or started a relationship with someone that is going to have a very keen eye on me all the time.
The psychologist. That's a good question, and I never thought about it that way. No, maybe because I had never really met a psychologist. So I thought like she would be like everybody else, like just go to work and go back home, and that's about it. I never thought like she would be psychoanalyzing me, kind of thing.
That's right. Yeah.
It never crossed my mind. Now that you think about it, I saw it as a job. That's her job. Mine is in the art field, art world, and. And
does that not then speak to your sense of confidence as an individual already? I think if many of us had met Dr. Yanina, we'd be having our first and second and third dates going, you think she thinks I don't use my utensils properly? Or am I just emotionally unstable?
Well, she was not a psychologist yet. We were both students. We were both at university. So, we were both practicing. So, our thing. And so, sure. I think that changed, that was the difference, where if we had met maybe later in life, perhaps, but since we met in college, it was first a friendship, and the friendship grew into a relationship, and then the personal relationship grew into marriage, and then that grew into a business relationship. In which and everything that you're talking about is really interesting because in the relationship, she got to know the artist's life, and I got to know the psychologist's life. We began to see the necessity of both things, how they could work together well. And when we started the program, which was maybe 8 years ago or something, back then there was only Facebook, and
yes, of course.
Instagram was only pictures of like pretty architecture that you saw. There was nothing of this social media stuff that we have today. So it's a different
podcasts were not.
Well, podcasts were around, because it started as a podcast. So podcasts were around,
right?
But this idea of the artist as the marketing person, it was not as much as it was now. It was more like go and visit galleries and meet with people. It was very hands-on, right? send slides and things of that. So when we started the program, which started with, the whole idea started with one workshop that I was invited to give in a northwest suburb here in Chicago. And I went, and we both went together. It was a beautiful, kind of like a conference type. There were tons of artists, probably over 100 artists. And they were all so thirsty of information, as I was in the stage talking about, it was called Taking Your Career to the Next Level. That was the title of the talk. So the feedback afterwards was, really blew us, away. Like people came and said, wow, that was amazing. Thank you for coming. And so we went back home and we're like, I think there's a need. I think
absolutely
artists need more training, but also more encouragement. I think based on what you just talked to Dr. Yanina, we need encouragement. Give us training, but give it with a sense of encouragement and optimism.
What do you think was lacking at the time? Apart from the social media and that kind of thing, what were artists feeling then 8 years ago?
I think it was lack of. I think probably the idea of being part of a larger community, feeling like you are part of something larger. Yes. We were all isolated, we were all doing our thing in our local communities and with our local friends, and that was kind of it. So that's when we decided, I think we should do something. There's only so many conferences we can go in person. Let's do something online that encompasses everything. Starts, as you said, with the mindset, and then that brings in the business component, and let's go with it. And we started as a podcast. So we started the podcast back then, and then we started doing courses. Everything started before we had a membership. We started with courses. We do one course here, one course there. And
so would you would be physically going to these
online
venues? It was all online. Okay.
Yeah, the idea was the Art NXT Level from the beginning was always envisioned as an online, because the idea was like, well, if you go to a conference, you can only help those who are at the conference, and that's it.
Yes.
But if we go online, then it's it's really
and 8 years ago was not that long ago. I mean, 11 in the 2000 8 years ago, which would have been what 2015, 16, something like that. Yeah, so we were already into the YouTube conferencing.
Yeah, YouTube was around. Facebook. Facebook was huge. That was the only thing. Everybody and their mother was on Facebook.
Yeah. So, did you ever have arguments as a couple? I'm always curious about this. That with your enthusiasm, Sergio, like you are one of these guys that you have no hesitation to just jump in and say you've got an idea and you think I'm going to do that today. And you immediately go and do it with this gusto that I've never seen in an individual ever. Do you ever have, or at the original stage? I mean, I can't imagine when you're developing the Artist Next Level program in 2015. I'm sure Sergio was just a monster. Like he would be just like, I'm going to do that too, and I'm going to go there, and I'm going to build that, and I'm going to put myself on the camera. Yanina, did you ever get to the point, or did your relationship ever kind of have a difficult time there where you say, are we going too far, too fast, too many different areas? Did you find that because you were both business partners, but you're also, you were raising children and very different individuals. So was there any conflict in that decision to go as big as you are today?
I will not call it conflict or difficulty. It was just more conversations and trying to decide. We're always looking at the pros and cons. So it's more like conversation than anything else. But honestly, we have never had any conflict when it comes to that. To have a conflict, you need two, right? To engage in a conflict. Yeah. And Sergio is the kind of person that he does not engage in conflict. He engages in conversations, but not conflict. It's always been like that. And he actually, me coming from a family of many, I'm into more conflict. And he taught me to have conversations. And
what a beautiful relationship that is.
One of the things.
And I think from the beginning.
From the beginning, it was more, okay, let's always think about the pros and cons. And he comes up with these ideas that you're like, to me, it's like,
did he want to listen? Did he want to listen to the cons? Because the pros, of course, he loves the idea of the pros, but the cons,
and you're getting
knowing
to know
him.
No, but you're getting to know his personality. Oh, he's up for it. Because he has that. This is what's happening, Drew. We have the same goal, the same goals that we have. And if we don't work unanimously, we're not going to achieve those goals. And both of us are very, very clear about that. And because our specialties are so different, there's no competition whatsoever. We just want to get from
there's
point
a respect
A,
level there.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I think
we want to get from point A to point B the fastest we can, and therefore it's all about problem solving.
And I think from the beginning,
I love that.
From the beginning, like we both understood what our roles are within the company, because it's a company, you know.
It's a company that clearly.
It's a company that is at home, and it's like she has a very good way of separating business from family life. I don't, right? Because I could have an idea, like you said, like I'm gonna do a video right now, and right after dinner, and she's like, no, I'm off the clock.
Before the dishes are done.
Yeah, she's like, I'm off the clock, you know. So she at 5, she's out of the office, I would say, you know. I get to put the overtime.
But I think that and that pose no problems.
No, and I think, you know, because like she throws me on all the ideas for marketing and things. I never feel second guessed about it, because she throws me, that's my expertise, that's what I do. And then the areas that she manages, all the wellness and all the managing parts of the business that people don't see, we talk about them, you know, but I trust what she's doing, you know, and that is, I think that's what makes it work. You know, there's a trust in which we love working together, you know. And she's in her office, I'm in mine, or room or whatever, at the same house, and we're all working, and we meet. You know, we have our business meetings where we talk about what we're doing. We go over the week, you know, over what the challenge is next. You know, we brainstorm, and then each one goes and does our work. You know,
it's fantastic.
I have a funny thing that I tell my kids, you know, always over dinner time, hey guys, I don't even know when I get paid. You know, I don't know. The boss never pays me. I'm just like this hamster.
That leads us to a very interesting part of the conversation, right?
When do I get paid? I don't know. That's a good question. You guys should ask Dr. Yanina.
Because that is often there's 3 things that, you know, we know all the 3 things that can get in the way of a marriage and a business and a business partnership. We don't need to go there, but, you know, finances is another thing, you know, when, and that's another thing that I would love to talk about, because, you know, a lot of couples, like all of us, we have another half, we have another person that we're responsible for, not only ourselves. We're building brands, we're building a business together. We're not always aligned. And particularly when it comes to money or expenditures, or, you know, that kind of thing, that we, you know, we spend money differently. We save money differently. Our investments are different. Was that ever a conflict? Did you feel that we
put a budget? So at the beginning of the year, we put a budget towards marketing. We put a budget towards equipment. We put a budget. So I know my budget of how much I can use on marketing, Facebook ads.
And you stay to that.
And if I need more, then I go to the boss.
Well, and see that
can I get a raise, by the way? Help me out, Drew. Help me out. Get a raise over here.
No. By the end of this conversation, she'll be raising that hourly wage by exponentially.
But you know, she takes me for breakfast once in a while, and I love that.
You see, but if you're allowed to have that extra pancake and your blue purple drink, maybe 2 of them,
I'm generous.
That's a generosity right there.
I'm like, wait,
you know, this is why I wanted to talk to you, because I think this is the value of this program. The Art NXT Level program is based on trust. You know, we trust one another.
Right.
I trusted you. You've trusted me. and I'm forever thankful. What's great about it is that it comes from the top. You and Sergio have brought a level of trust to the people that come to you. They need trust. Some have, are untrust. They're not trusting quite when they come to the program. But I think that this is what draws them in. The fact that this is not just, it's not considered a business. It's considered a family business.
Right.
And I think this is the value of this program. It's not driven solely by membership dollars. It's driven by, the belief that we can emotionally get better, that we can, build our internal selves to be our better selves in marketing, doing our art. And it's a great opportunity for everybody because they see you as at the helm as this great relationship. But I think the reason I'm doing this podcast with you is that, they haven't seen you together and talk about these things. And a lot of us, as I said, we are engaged in couple businesses, as artists. We tend to flock towards other artists and we get involved in communities and that kind of thing. So this is really important. I'm sort of lost for words at the moment.
And I can jump in for a second. That there's something that we value in the Art NXT Level, which is the idea of giving, right? When we started, 8 years ago, there were not many people who were just giving information online. You had to buy the courses or pay, for things or go to workshops.
This is true.
We started Breakfast with Sergio with that idea, the idea of I'm gonna, back then my schedule was very tight when I started Breakfast with Sergio. There's, many years before the pandemic, maybe I think it started maybe 5 years ago or something. And then, Yanina was working, Dr. Yanina was working full time as a psychologist. I was working also full time as a professor at the university. And we would be doing the Art NXT Level thing after work. It was like our side gig, to help artists. And
in your case, was before work.
Yeah,
wow.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we'll do Breakfast with Sergio before going to work. That's why it's called Breakfast with Sergio.
It was, it was this idea of like, well, there's no time. When do we do this? So I'm like, I only have breakfast. I can never leave the home without breakfast. So I only have breakfast. I'm going to turn the little camera, go live. It was live, it was not even edited. And sometimes the dog was barking or, somebody would come and it was crazy, but it was fun, and it was this idea of,
but that was the beauty of it.
Yeah.
It wasn't scripted and it wasn't some Hollywood set.
Yeah.
This was actually your kitchen. That's
exactly.
your kitchen cutting board.
But the idea was to give, right? To give the artist as like everything that I was learning, to give it back. And I think that made me realize like the 3 stages that I think we go through, right? The first stage, we're waiting for opportunities. We're young, we're emerging, we want opportunities to come our way. Then we learn at some point that then we can also create our own opportunities. So you start to also build and create your own opportunities for yourself. And then the third stage, I think, which is the most beautiful, is when you become an opportunity maker, where you then not only work to find opportunities for yourself, but for others as well. And I think one of our goals at the Art NXT Level program has been, let's be opportunity makers and help artists to become that too, right?
Yeah.
For them to
and you do that well.
When they succeed, when they excel, you trust that they will share, they will do. And I think that's the beauty of a community, right? Like what we have in the Art NXT Level, where artists can come and share. This morning, I before coming in, I picked in and somebody was asking a question. Hey, I got a collector who wants to buy I think 10 small works. Should I use paper? Should I use canvas? And then others are jumping in and helping out. Nobody's is holding back their information. And I think that's what, at the end of the day, that's the best reward for us to see that we are sharing our information. And
this is, I have to say, this is probably one of the key elements to this conversation that I hadn't quite expected it to go, but I'm glad it has, because we started out talking about being university students and being artists, and not being told the business side, and in a sense, from my experience anyway, we were always sort of keep that information to yourself.
To yourself, yeah.
Yeah, don't share it.
Don't share it.
And I don't know what changed me over the years. I'm a people person. I like sharing ideas. I think this is what drew me to you guys.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that this in itself, this whole Art Next Level program, like you said, has allowed people to feel comfortable with sharing ideas. If you're not going to share it, you're going to be able to find it somewhere else anyway. Someone will be sharing this.
Right.
So if you can do it in a very, good-natured way, and be communicative with a wide group, and when the questions are asked, like you said today, a number of us now feel comfortable about jumping in and actually answering them.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's what you bring to this program.
Yeah. And if I were to use one word for the Art Next Level program, is giving. We are a giving community. Because one thing that Sergio always says is that when one artist wins,
we all win.
We all win, and that's that's part of our core value: the importance of caring for each other and giving. Yeah. It's like that old saying: "What goes around comes around." If you give,
it's a beautiful thing.
And if you give authentically, and it's going to come back to you.
Absolutely.
We truly pride ourselves of being a giving community, because that's something that we really we create that space that people feel comfortable and they feel willing to share, because they have been fed themselves, by others, so they feel comfortable giving to. There's always, especially again, going back to that starving artist mentality, is like, when you've had that scarcity mentality, you want to keep it to yourself, because there's not enough. So we believe in the opposite. The more you give, the more you learn, and the more you share, the more you grow.
I tell you,
abundance.
This program has changed my life in many ways. And apart from my career as an artist, it's done something for, my community. It helps. And that's the beauty of it. The caring. It's a caring organization. And you can tell someone, until you're blue in the face, this organization is about caring. But until they get involved, the moment they do get involved in your program, in the Artist Next Level program, they begin to see it immediately, because they see the interaction. They see how you two interact from a really deep emotional side, from less so, in the marketing and the really, the tactical things you got to do. You got to, pay for this, and you got to market it this way, and you've got to post it this way. Now, which takes me to another aspect. You wrote a book together, and I know, Dr. Yanina, you've written books, but I want to talk about this particular book. I don't have it handy. I have a signed copy somewhere here in my office, but I can't find it. So I'm going to let you introduce this, and let's just talk briefly about why you did it, and why it is important for people to read this, and what was in that book that was unique to every other book that's out there on the market. Tell me a little bit about it.
Go ahead.
Who wants to start?
It started with her. It was her idea. So why don't you start?
Well, it's the whole idea.
You're not blaming her, are you?
No. It was a great idea, but I cannot take credit for it.
Well, it's the whole idea of, we're working with artists, and the more we work with artists, the more I was seeing the need of that support and encouragement, and helping artists overcome. First, acknowledge the inner critics that we have, and also the way we sabotage ourselves, right? And the way that mindset blocks can really paralyze you and can really affect the development of something that can be amazing, right? And the more I work with artists, the more I saw that, and I talked to Sergio about it. I'm like, this is not. There's a need, and we cannot let other artists allow that inner critic to take over. because it really is destroying their art career, and they have so much potential, they have so much to say and so much to share, and that inner critic that they have is really stopping them from blossoming, right? And we saw that. I saw this especially when we do our workshops. Like at the end of the workshops, every time we did workshops, at the end, people will come to me and tell me all these things like, oh, but I don't think I'm a good artist. All these fears and insecurities were like so obvious. And it came to the point that I'm like, okay, enough is enough. We need to do something about this, because this is really affecting too many artists, and this is not good. And that's
who better to do it? Wow.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So that's when I was like, I need to write something about, because honestly, that was not the book that I was going to write at the moment. But it was it really, I felt this calling, like, you have to do something about this. This needs to stop. So that's when I decided to put the other book aside that I was going to write, and write a Crush Self-Sabotage.
And we thank you. Please, I didn't say the title of the book, so
Crush Self-Sabotage and Live Fully, the artist wellness, the artist journey. Oh my God.
The artist wellness journey to confidence and success. There we go.
Yes. Okay. There, you got it.
I'm so sorry. It just got stuck. For those who are listening, we're recording this in the morning, so I'm still trying to wake
That's
up
fine.
here. But what I wanted to say was the whole idea that when that idea came to me, I thought that, okay, I want this to be extremely practical. And that's when, and Sergio has always been telling me that he wants to write books, but he doesn't have the time. And that's when I'm like, okay, this is the perfect idea to write it together. I can do my teachings. Sergio can talk about how these teachings are practical in his art career, how he can use them as a creative. And I brought it up to him. I said, hey, what are your thoughts on writing this book about, crushing self-sabotage with me? And he's like, oh yeah, he didn't even think about it. He's like, yeah, let's do it. And I'm like,
well, he can see, he does see, thankfully you do know each other. You know the way you think, and the chances are, Dr. Yanina saying to Sergio something crazy enough that he's not going to believe you. He already knows what you're thinking. He knows, the value of it. So he's going to jump on it. The beauty is that book, when it came out, the aspects of how you worked it in, so there was the concept of self-sabotage and overcoming that, and a lot of the clinical side that we need as artists. And I congratulate for bringing that out in for the people, because there were so many books out there that were say, learn how to draw, but it didn't tell me why I wanted to, or why I was scared to draw, that kind of thing.
Right.
And the beauty of this book was then Sergio comes in, gives his own experience as a working visual artist. So there was a really tangible, concept and a resolve, and it's all in one book.
Yeah. And I think that came from, because, and my concept of writing a book was very different from her concept of writing a book. When she said, it's a funny story, because when she says, I like humor sometimes, when, makes for things to be light. So she says, why don't you write let's write this book together. She gave the whole spiel about the book. And I'm like, oh yeah, great. I'll just go in on a weekend and I'll write my part. She's like, no, that's not how it works. I'm like, oh, okay. So
it took me about a year.
Was there, in that 1 year, was there any conflict as far as, pushing one another to finish their chapters so that the other person could get engaged?
No, the way we worked it out is, so she would write first, right? So she had to, which was great. Otherwise, we would still be writing if I had to write the chapter first. So she write the chapter first, and she's very good at that. And when she had her own deadlines, so once the chapter was done, she would tell me, okay, chapter 1 is done. Now it's your turn, right? Now go do your weekend thing. And then write your response to the chapter. So then I would read the chapter, and then I didn't want to overthink it. I'm like, I'm gonna read it and I'm gonna write the response right there. So I read it. I sit down and work that day or 2 days, in the response. Send it back to her, so she would look at it. Or sometimes, and we would give feedback on each chapter. Like I would say, well, maybe maybe this sample that you're using, I may have a problem with that, and vice versa. As you said, maybe the way you're approaching it, that's not what I tried to say. So we worked each chapter. Once the chapter was done, said, okay, that's done. Then she will work in the second chapter, and then will give me that. And to me, that worked really great because somebody was keeping track of the scheduling, where I knew when it was my turn, when that chapter came in, because we have different responsibilities, right? I was focused on, I have my own calendar on marketing and things that I'm doing. So it worked really well from the beginning. This is how we're gonna do it. This is the structure, and it worked. I'm surprised how natural it came and how funny it was to write with her.
Well, I'm not surprised at all. You the way you communicate, you've always communicated, clearly, even as independently in the group. You communicate the same philosophies and the same methods in two different areas, and I think that's quite noticeable. It's very noticeable. So I can't imagine that a book would be any different. I think I give you credit for doing these things, because there isn't a lot out there for the artists, particularly on that emotional side. And I think this is what is so inspiring for many of the Art NXT Level members in our program. You get a very, very high grade, Yanina, when people are, you ask the right questions and you hit nerves in there, and you get people answering the questions. It's fabulous.
And speaking about that, that's my favorite part of the book is the diving deeper section. Each chapter is each chapter has a diving deeper, that's when I share specific questions and specific exercises for our readers to follow up. It's not about us writing this information and letting you know and sharing with you, but rather, what are you going to do about it? Because normally books are like, okay, you read this. Okay, I read this book. Oh yeah, wonderful. I had this boost of self-esteem, and then that's it. No, we want you to take action. We want you to, now that you read this chapter, now that you learn these strategies or this concept, and Sergio has shared with you how he's applying that concept into his creative life, then now it's your turn. What are you going to do about it? We don't want you to be just a passive reader. We want you to be an active changer. So we want you to change your life. We want you to get better.
And I'm sure that this book comes back to many of us. In fact, I did pull it out to show a family member that was here for a dinner the other night. I showed him the book, and I have it out on
Thank you.
Yeah, I have it out on our table. That's why it's not easily accessible to me at the moment. It's on our table, and one of the reasons it's still on our table today is because I have to go back to it for specifically that reason. I'm attempting to do something a little different in what I'm doing right now for this next challenge that we've got coming up through the Art NXT Level. It's the end of year art sales challenge, and it's a great program, and it's the same one I joined 4 years ago when I first joined the group and met you guys. But it was a small works challenge. This one is giving us much more freedom to do whatever we want, prints or video and that kind of thing. So today I was pushing myself in an area where I'm not comfortable. And I went back to the book about the self-sabotage, particularly about doubt. I had doubts. I had doubts when I just couldn't get my hand to do what I wanted it to do. I was fearful. So going back to that, the book was right there. I looked at it, and the first page I looked at basically just said, you have to overcome. You have to start it. If you don't start it,
get it started.
It'll never happen on its own.
Right.
So get over yourself and make a mistake and learn from it, and build upon it. So that's that self-sabotage that I was, and it's still happening to me today. So I think this whole program and every aspect of it is just, it's done a world of good for so many people, including myself, literally hundreds of people. So I think you should be very, very proud. Give yourself a pat on the back. I know you're in different rooms, but
no, we thank every artist that has come through our program, which at this point thousands from when we started. And artists we always say the Art NXT Level program is a companion to your career, not a distraction to your career.
And
it's an open door program, meaning artists can come and go. We have artists who come just for the challenge because that's all they need, and that's right. That energizes them for the entire year. Others, who come and have been with us faithfully since day one. So, for whichever reason artists come, they're always welcome. We're always excited. We're always changing. We're not perfect by any means. We make mistakes just like everybody else. And but
you're offering something new. You try something new every day. Really, you are always pushing yourself, and we lead by example. And no better people than to watch you guys, because you're leading by example. And I think that is that's a good part of your success. But the fact is that you know what you're doing too. And you're not just jumping into it.
Right. It helps that. Totally. It helps that I'm an artist. So we always thinking, well, what do I need as an artist? Because then that's what we all need too, and I think that helps a lot. There are a lot of great, wonderful marketing people giving advice, but they're marketing people, right?
That's right.
They never work in the studio, and that's the thing. The part that we said we're not gonna build our next level to replace my art career. I'm not giving away or giving up my art career to run the Art NXT Level, right? I'm first and foremost an artist.
It's supporting it.
Well, it's a parallel. Not even that. Consider things right. I'm first and foremost an artist, and the artist is the curator, the educator, and everything that we do. So
you live by what you preach.
Exactly. So if I tell artists to go and market your work, I have to do that too. Go and show up. I have to do that too, and that I think is what makes it a wonderful program that artists can, as we do like right now, the end of the year artist challenge. It's not just me telling you guys do, but artists will see me doing my own challenge, and my own offer and the things that I'm doing. So that we are all in the same boat. I'm not in an island safe, and you guys go and do that, and wish best of luck, But I'm in the boat with you, right? We are riding the boat, and that's what helps. And Dr. Yanina helping us all, in the boat to stay sane.
Well, she's following you closely within your home and studio and activities, right? And she knows how you then are guiding us.
Right.
And so I think, there's an engagement there, whether it be quiet, in the background engagement at times. And then there's times where, it's really important that, Sergio step aside and you bring in your expertise.
Exactly.
Or I come in, as a guest facilitator, which I'm completely honored to do, because I see we're going to go back in full circle here. This is a family and the amount of information that I have been able to forward alone to friends and colleagues that are in the art world all over the world has been invaluable. And it's all because of you guys. So I think you should, this is a great program. It's ever evolving. And I tell you, we have a great end of 2023 plan. 2024 is even going to be better.
It's going to be good.
Yes.
Some new and exciting things, which we'll get into in the next podcast, because folks, we are at 59 minutes and 17 seconds.
Time flies by when you're having fun.
I have.
It's time for breakfast with Sergio.
Yes, now it's time for breakfast. Sadly, I'm just about to go to bed, and it's not just breakfast time for me. It's a little bit later. But anyway,
Yes.
I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. It was very, very informative. And
Thank you.
we can, let me just do a little plug here. Be sure, as as someone that joined in 4 years ago, hesitantly, I didn't think I needed it, and now I can't live without it. www.theartistnextlevel.com. Go and check it out. Sign up.
And right now we are in our challenge. So this is the
right.
last. It depends when you're listening to this podcast, but the doors close for the end of year art sales challenge on the 8th of October. However, even if you listen to this in November, you can always come to the Art Next Level program for coaching, for the help that we can provide.
Yeah, and all the information's there. And I am going to leave the last word to the prettiest of us, the three of us. Yes, you, Dr. Yanina. I'm going to leave the last word to you.
Well, thank you so much for having us. It was wonderful. And no, it's the whole idea that in order for you to blossom as an artist, you do have to take care of yourself on the inside out. It's important that you go within and that you take care of yourself within, so that beauty, that energy that you have, all these ideas, all these values that you want to share through your art, they become a reality. And it makes a difference in not only your life, but the life of others. So thank you. Thank you for having us as guests.
Well, thank you for letting me host your show. I'll just remind people here, as Sergio does it all the time, I remind you to share this with your friends. And if you have ideas, comments, list them below here. Subscribe if this is in the video side. And come to the Art Next Level, artistnextlevel.com, and you'll get all the information, the resources, the coaching. It's just too enormous to even mention all the things right here, but you'll find them on the site. Okay. So thanks very much, you two. Have a great day. Have a great breakfast. And we'll see you.
Thank you.
At the Artist Next Level.
Absolutely. Thank you, Drew. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
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 Check out our website at www.theartistnextlevel.com, where you will find our podcast library, learn about our upcoming webinars, find resources relevant to your career, and much more. Thanks for listening to today's podcast, and we'll see you at the next level.